Good morning, dear students. Welcome to Lockdown Lecture Series Social Work Research and Statistical Application Semester 2 G-8. Today's topic is Unit number 3.1 Tools of Data Collection, Primary and Secondary Tools. Dear friends, we have completed the first 2 units before the lockdown. I have shared with you all the PPT and the relevant materials, reading materials. If you have any difficulty to understand any topic, please call me back, or you can also send email and I can clarify your doubts. Let's come to today's topic, Unit number 3. Topic 1, Tools of Data Collection, Primary and Secondary Tools. As you know, there are 2 types of data, primary data and secondary data. Primary data is collected directly from the field, from the respondents. There are 6 primary tools for the collection of primary data. They are questionnaire, interview, structured and unstructured interview schedule, observation guide, focused group discussion guide, case study, and test, which means psychological test. Questionnaire is used by mail, by social media, or by post. Questionnaire is distributed to the respondent, and the respondent fill it by themselves at their convenience and submit back. The second tool, interview schedule. It is not distributed to the respondent. The interviewer fill it up in a face-to-face interview. There are 2 types of interview schedule. One is structured, the other one is unstructured. Structured means all the questions and answers are fixed, and the interviewer has to ask the questions one by one and record the answers just by ticking the right options. Unstructured interview schedule means an interview schedule which does not have any fixed answers. Sometimes questions are also not fixed. The interviewer is free to ask the questions in any order and record the answers as and when the respondent says. Observation guide is used to record the observation. Generally, a number of items are fixed and prepared in advance, and the response is recorded in the observation guide by observing the situation. The fourth tool is focus group discussion guide. A set of questions are prepared for conducting a group discussion. The questions are focused on a particular theme, on the topic of the research. The fifth one is case study, which is generally collected by observation and by in-depth interview. Case study refers to the data regarding unexpected, exceptional, and model incidents. or person or institution. The last one is test, which is personality test or psychological test. They are used to collect the information that are psychological or emotional. The secondary tools for data collection. Secondary data means the data collected through reading newspapers, periodicals, reviewing the office records, other literature, web resources, and other books. It can be known as content analysis. For conducting a research, we need both primary and secondary data. For the collection of secondary data, we have 5 types of secondary tools. They are periodical review, official records and reports review, literature and research review, web resources review, books and journal reviews. Periodical review means the reading of newspaper, weekly, magazine, and the content analysis of relevant articles. Official records and report means the government reports, the statistical report, the census report, and various other records available from Panchayat, Block Development Office, Jilla Parishad, Collectorate, and various other government agencies. The literature review and the research review refers to the review of all researches, past research conducted by students and research scholars. They are available in the libraries and they are very useful resource for understanding the topic of your research. You can review the past literature from the researches that are conducted by all students, by other research scholars, and they are kept in the library. Web resources means online resources. There are a number of articles published online. They are available in various websites. By reading them, we can prepare a set of literature review. Finally, books and journal reviews. Textbooks and journals are always available in the library and they give the latest information, the review of the latest study on your topic. And they are reviewed and that reviews the 5th tool for data collection. Thank you. Dear students, welcome to topic unit number 3.2, processing of data, content, editing data, classification, coding, tabulation, interpretation and analysis of data, diagrammatic and graphic presentation of data. So in the processing of data, there are 7 subtopics. They are the content, editing data, classification, coding, tabulation, interpretation analysis, and diagrammatic and graphic presentation of data. Content means deciding the list of items and preparation of the chapter plan of the research report. Before the data collection, before we start the research, we should have the clear chapter plan. We should have the understanding of what type of content is going to be there in the research. In the chapter plan, we generally have 5 to 7 chapters. The first chapter is the introduction. The second chapter, the research methodology and review of studies. And third, fourth and fifth are the data-based and objective-based chapters. The last chapter is the conclusion, which includes summary of findings, testing of hypotheses, and suggestions. Now, editing of data. After the data collection, we should edit the data. Editing has 3 purposes. First, to find out the missing entries. Second, to correct the illegible entries. Third one is to rectify the discrepancies in the data collection. Sometimes, while we conduct the interview and fill up the interview schedule, some of the entries may be missed out. Sometimes the writings may be illegible. Sometimes there will be some contradictions which require clarification. So all these corrections is known as the editing of data. Classification means data need to be classified. First, as primary and secondary. Then primary data means the original data that have been collected through primary means. And the secondary data is collected through secondary sources. The classification has to be done objective wise or the chapter wise, so that the bits of data collected through various methods, both primary and secondary, may be combined chapter wise before the statistical analysis. Now, coding means assigning of number to each response of the questions. The purpose of giving number to each response is to translate raw data into numerical data, which may be counted and tabulated. This is the way we quantify the qualitative information. All the responses collected through interview schedule has to be coded. You can see in the presentation a sample of the codebook. The first column is the question number. The second column is variable number, where you find V1, V2, V3. Variable, the third column is the description of the variable. That is, the first variable is age. Then we have designation, establishment, level of education, marital status, attitude of employer, preference for male employees. This is very arbitrary. It depends upon your questionnaire, how you prepare your code book. The fourth column is categories. There you find various categories of the response. For the age, you need not make any category. It is already the numerical data. So the actual age is the code. You need not have separate code number. For the designation, worker, supervisor, manager. These are the general category of the employees. Establishment, public and private. Level of education, graduate, intermediate, high school, middle school, primary, illiterate and other. And the last column you find the code. Code numbers are very simple. It's simply numericals 1, 2, 3. For the worker, code number is 1, supervisor 2, manager 3. So whatever the responses you collect through the interview schedule has to be coded. Codebook preparation is followed by preparing a master chart. After a codebook is prepared, the data can be transferred either to a master chart, that's a graph sheet, or directly to computer through a statistical package, either Excel or SPSS. Here you will find a model master chart where you find the rows represent the respondent and the column represents the variables. See V1, that's variable number 1, means age. V2 is the designation. V3 establishment. Here in a big paper or a spreadsheet, we can transfer all the data in the form of numbers, which can readily be analyzed statistically. Now the tabulation plan. After the master chart is prepared, we need to decide how many tables and what type of tables. There are 4 types of tables: univariate, bivariate, trivariate and multivariate. Univariate means one single variable is represented. Bivariate, 2 variables. Trivariate shows data according to 3 variables. Multivariate table shows the data of more than 3 variables. Chart from the table is a substitute for the table. Sometimes we can prepare pie chart, bar diagram, histogram, line graph. All these graphs are interesting ways of presenting the data. Finally, we have to organize all these tables and chart chapter wise. I have the example of the univariate table. Here you will find the religion of the respondent: Hindus, Muslims, Christian, the frequency and the percentage. So this is the model for univariate table. We have now the bivariate table, which shows the data in 2 variables. Usually the independent variable is the row variable and the dependent variable is the column variable. In the given example, you will find gender as the independent variable, life satisfaction as dependent variable. You will find in the table the data presented in a bivariate table. The data is given according to the gender and life satisfaction. You find there men with high level of life satisfaction 30, moderate level 70, low level 100, and the women high level 65, moderate 90 and low level 45. From this table you can compare the performance of 2 different categories of the respondent. You can compare the performance of men and women. You can find here men have low level of life satisfaction compared to the women. Women have shown higher level of life satisfaction compared to the men. Here you will find the trivariate analysis. There are 3 variables presented in a single table. First one is gender, then life satisfaction. The third one is the age group. So under the men you find youth and old. So there are 3 variables presented in a single table. So we can find young men 18, old men 12 in the higher level of life satisfaction. In the medium level of life satisfaction, there are 40 youth and 30 old. In the lower level of life satisfaction, 60 youth and 40 old. In the same manner, you will find in the high level of life satisfaction 35 young women and 30 old women. Here we can compare three variables. You can compare the performance between men and women, between young men and young women, between old men and old women with regard to their level of satisfaction. Now, how to interpret each table? Each table has to be analyzed and interpreted. For each table, we have to give an introductory paragraph which shows the relevance of the questions asked and the introduction of the response categories. Under the table, you can mention the major findings. You can also mention their mean, standard deviation and proportion. We can mention there the comparative analysis. We can compare the findings within the table. It is also possible you can compare the findings between the tables by the use of correlations. We need to rationalize or justify the major findings, which is known as interpretation. You as the researcher knows the truth of the real situation. You should include your observation and explain your findings. You should justify the particular findings that you have presented. Finally, diagrammatic and graphical presentation of data. Diagrams and graphs are often the substitutes for tables. They are not additional information. There are 4 types of diagrams generally researchers use. One is pie diagram, the second one is bar diagram, third one is line graph, fourth one is histogram, and fifth one is smart art. These diagrams can easily be prepared from the frequency tables, from the bivariate tables, and other tables. With the help of Excel, you can prepare these diagrams. Thank you.